Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your 2025 NXT Stand and Deliver instant analysis. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, just minutes after NXT Stand and Deliver went off the air to break down every single match on the first of 3 premium live events on WWE WrestleMania 41 weekend. We are literally taping this show while the countdown to night 1 of WrestleMania is on the air, so we are not wasting any time off the top. We got to do this quick right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Allow me to remind you that this show
is all about the 5.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we'll read it live right here on the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. Please, though, follow us so you can vote in pre- and post-show polls surrounding both nights of WrestleMania 41, and so you can send questions and comments in for the show. We'll do our best to read some of them during the instant analysis. At worst, we'll hit them with our second look shows next week. WWE on Tuesday, NXT on Wednesday. Also, please don't forget,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news analysis posts every week. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Real quick before we fully get into the show, just a reminder, we will have similar instant analysis episodes Saturday night and Sunday night as soon as WWE WrestleMania 41 goes off the air, so look out for those. And if you're listening to this, you need a preview for either or both nights of WrestleMania, just hit the podcast feed. We have timestamps in the episode description for our WWE WrestleMania 41 Ultimate Preview. You can listen to night 1, you can just listen to night 2, you can listen to all of it together, but don't miss that show. It is one of our best already of the entire year. And by the way, we have a bonus WrestleMania preview show, just talking Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, Triple H, Nick Khan, some other folks. You can listen to that before or after WrestleMania. Just make sure you listen to it before Tuesday's WWE podcast. All right, with that said, let's officially get into our NXT Stand and Deliver instant analysis. As mentioned, we're going to break down every single match on the card, give you immediate takes from them, and a grade. We will circle back and do a second look on Tuesday with additional thoughts from Stand and Deliver. The turnaround here is so crazy doing it between Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania 41. It's possible the Silver King misses something. It's also possible he doesn't. But we, of course, will find out what I may or may not miss. I said Tuesday, I think a second ago, on Wednesday, our next NXT show. So interestingly, there were no ads on the mat during the countdown match, but it was covered by 3 different brands in 9 different spots during the main card. And off the top here, I wanted to give big time credit to the Las Vegas crowd. They were relatively quiet in the beginning of the show, still loud, just not as loud as others perhaps have been. But shit, man, this started at 9:30 a.m. Pacific for the countdown match. Completely understandable that it took them some time to get kind of into a groove. They came more and more alive later and later it got in the show, and they delivered, despite the early call time, way better than the Philadelphia crowd last year, which had no morning excuse. What I wanted to know is, were they serving like breakfast sandwiches and screwdrivers at the concession stands instead of hot dogs and beer? Like, what exactly was going on in this arena? Perhaps one of you who was there could tell us. Let's go ahead and get to every single match on the card. Now, almost always, we start with the main event of premium live events. We're not going to do that this time. You'll understand why as we break it down. The NXT Women's Championship, Stephanie Vaquer defending against Julia Jordan Grace and Jada Parker in a fatal 4-way. This co-main evented the show. My take, learning that this was not going to be in the main event, was that there better be a title change and or a major storyline development in the men's match that they felt needed to close the show. The ladies all looked amazing in their gear. Julia put her hair in braids, which made her a killer in Stardom, and it was actually kind of similar here in this match. Vaquer briefly teamed with her before they fought, Vaquer and Grace had a great extended sequence with the ropes. Grace based a sick double doomsday blockbuster executed by Parker. Vaquer got a huge pop going for the thigh driller, but Grace just stood up as a counter and did that into a Death Valley driver. Then she hit Julia with a jackhammer and did a double German Northern Lights suplex combo on both heels. Julia finally displayed her signature headbutt offense, really for the first time in WWE. She got great heel heat on that. She even got more heat countering out of the thigh driller into like a lift up stomp where you put the foot on the back of someone and you press them down into the canvas. Parker triple stacked them in the corner for a huge teardrop. Triple submission spot followed with Grace taking a heel hook and a bridge crossface simultaneously. Parker escaped an octopus hold with a slam into Grace. Julia took eat defeat and a dragon screw from Vaquer before all three challengers took turns one after another eating the thigh driller, which is now officially called Devil's Kiss. More appropriate for sure, but massive, massive pops for all of those moves. Booker T did a 10-second, yeah, as this was all happening, basically orgasming live on air, which was amazing because commentary completely laid out for him. And when it was over, fans actually chanted, Booker T, Booker T.
It should have been me. It should have been me.
Very fun. Grace took out Julia with the Juggernaut driver, only for Hypnotic to break the fall. Julia basically rolled up Jada for what seemed to be a 3 count. It was called 2.99. Really tough one there. Parker landed Hypnotic coming back, only for Vaquer to get, it seemed like 20% of Spinal Tap to break the fall, but she hit the SVB on Parker coming back to retain her championship. This was an excellent, excellent match. Very much a FTMF bout. Follow that mother effers, which was a one-time slogan for NXT during takeovers before main roster events. Disappointing that Spinal Tap didn't completely land in the finish because it's such a crucial part of the conclusion and it's her better finisher of the two. But SVB, again, it did get the job done anyway. This met and exceeded many of my expectations. If you put this in the main event, you give it 5 to 10 more minutes, couple extra false finishes, you're talking about a potential 5-star match. Vaquer retaining was always the right decision, given she's the most over person on the brand, and you need her to directly one-on-one put someone over if she's ever going to drop the strap. This was another indication that there's something truly, truly special about Vaquer. In a division full of incredibly talented women, all of them with immensely bright futures, by the way, she still stands out above all of them. She could show up on the main roster tomorrow and in a month be one of the 3 or 4 most popular women in the entire company. Stephanie Vaquer simply has
It.
You have it. You couldn't get rid of it. You couldn't sell it if you wanted to. You are it.
look, skill, charisma, every frickin' ounce of
It.
she's got.
It.
Despite Stephanie starring here, I'd actually call Julia the MVP in this one. She's already had great NXT matches, but this was the best and most natural that she's come across since joining WWE. Parker completely held her own despite being a comparative neophyte to the other 3. Grace was awesome throughout. I'm at the point now where I don't believe Jordan should actually win a title in NXT. Stay there for 6 or 9 months, work with a bunch of people, go to the main roster. As for a grade, this was definitely an A match. I'm not sure I can go the full 4.5 stars just because of some of the sequences weren't all the way there. The finish also came rather suddenly. This is a definite rewatch match and something I will solidify Wednesday for our NXT Stand and Deliver second look. As of right now, I'm at 4.25 stars and an A, but it was the second best match on the entire card. There's another one that has the same grade. This was better than that comparatively. Coming out of this, Julia needs to go full 100% heel. WWE still needs to get Vaquer a different finisher other than SVB. She's begging for a knee injury. It's also less impressive than 4 or 5 of her other moves. She cannot do Spinal Tap every single time. So, okay, fair, but she has to have something besides SVB. Simple as that. As Stand and Deliver ended, cameras moved backstage with Roxanne Perez confronting Vaquer while she was getting her picture taken with the title. Roxy demanded a title match. They started shoving each other. Stephanie basically said she would take the match as soon as Tuesday. Now, this was somewhat confusing given something that happened in the women's tag team match on the countdown. So let's put a pin in this and we'll circle back to that at the end. That'll be the final match that we discuss. So now the actual main event, the NXT Men's Championship. Obafemi defending against Trick Williams and Javon Evans in a triple threat. Trick impressively hit this athletic flip right in the middle of the ring. For a man his size to be able to do that, man his size and weight to be able to do that, pretty crazy. It's something like Will Ospreay would do, but you have Trick Williams doing it. Great spot, allowing Femi to lift them simultaneously for a double Samoan drop. Then he hit a massive gutbuster on Williams. Javon hit a springboard lariat on Oba, talked a bunch of shit, which gave Trick an opening for a Michinoku driver. Trick countered a Doomsday Device with a Hurricanrana. Then they did a leap-off car crash spot that was probably a botched move since nothing solidly hit. Trick did a double flying crossbody ringside. Javon hit an insane bottom rope springboard moonsault ringside. Trick wound up on Oba's shoulders, but he grabbed Javon for a superplex. Femi no-sold a German suplex at the end of a really big sequence and hit a double almighty spinebuster. I don't usually like that. In this context, given his size, it worked. Williams caught Femi running with Trouble in Paradise, but ate Evans' handspring kick. Femi moved out of a frog splash cover at 1. Javon countered a chokeslam into a cutter for a false finish. Oba then stopped the springboard cutter again. Javon countered back into sliced bread. Oba countered another springboard cutter with a huge European uppercut midair. Evans powerbombed him like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan style, and hit a springboard cutter coming back for a false finish. Williams murked the referee off screen. I don't think there was a specific reason, except he didn't like that he got a near fall. Evans then leveled Trick with a tope suicida. He countered fall from grace with a hurricanrana over the ropes, only to twice get tossed like a child into the barricade. Like, holy hell. Trick then Uranagi'd Oba through the announce table. Trick shot landed on Javon with no one to count because, he killed the referee. So the referee slides into the ring. Oba stops him by grabbing his leg. The referee, he's trying to count. He's unable to. So he kicks Femi in the chest. And ultimately, the fall got broken anyway. I just cannot remember ever seeing a referee do that. Loved that spot. Evans hit a double springboard cutter, followed with his springboard tornado press slam finisher on Oba, standing up to cover. Williams caught Javon with trick shot. Femi then powerbombed him into Evans and hit fall from grace, Liger Bomb style, on Javon to retain the NXT championship. Now, there was an extended celebration for Oba, which kept making it seem like there was going to be a big post-match moment. Stand and Deliver faded to black, but then it came back for additional celebration, the Stephanie Roxy thing I just mentioned. What seemed to happen is that the show ended 4 minutes before the WrestleMania countdown was going to start, so NXT had to fill the time. But it was strange that this main event of the show, without a title change or a post-match storyline, especially because, spoiler alert, Dark State stood tall earlier in the show and were not injured, and they've interfered with Femi and all this guy's stuff before, so why would they not come out again? I thought that was a little illogical. But don't get it twisted. I'm not unwilling to change my opinion. This ended up being better and higher energy than the women's match. It was the appropriate and rightful main event, so Silver King was wrong. I was just surprised that it was put in this spot without one or both of those elements factoring, a title change or a post-match. But this was an absolutely insane triple threat. It was as high energy and fast-paced a match like this that I can remember in WWE. And it's particularly interesting that it was like that because it also had this element involved.
Big meaty man slapping meat. That's what I want.
Trick was like the perfect middle ground between Oba's size and strength and Javon's athleticism. He somehow was able to match them both. Obviously, Oba is bigger and stronger, and Javon is more athletic and faster. But Trick was like the perfect kind of middle point between both of them. And this was, because of that, for one of many reasons, a phenomenal match and a sensational triple threat. Oba had to earn his title retention. Javon starred as the clear MVP. He is the future both of the brand and the main event scene, and really WWE as a whole. Trick had one of his best matches that did not involve Ilya Dragunov. Still not ready for the main roster, in my opinion, but a lot closer than he was 6 months ago. Oba might actually be an all-time triple threat wrestler. He's already had 2 or 3 of them that are just straight up
Banger
matches of this type. You could have put this on the WrestleMania card with fans not knowing these guys, and it still would have delivered massively. I'm going big on this one. 4.75 stars, A+. I'm going to rewatch it. Maybe I drop it a quarter star, goes to an A. But this over-delivered by a factor I simply could not have guessed coming in. Instant classic NXT match. And you know what? Other triple threats this week are going to have a real tough time topping this match, including one in about 5 hours from when I'm taping the show. Now, it should not go without being said before we wrap up this match that this was, I believe, the first time in WWE history that 3 black men main evented a PLE. And it's absolutely the first time that 3 black male wrestlers and a black referee made up the entirety of a PLE match or main event. Straight up historic. And the fact that it happened and most of it is an afterthought. I mean, it's not an afterthought to the people who it's representing, but in the promotion, in the build, they didn't even mention this. That really says something, right? Where WWE is able to do something like this and it's not a gimmick or it's not put on. It's just literally the 3 most deserving male wrestlers in the brand wrestling a match and a referee who, by the way, is one of the best referees in NXT calling the match. Others can make the determination. It's not up for me to decide on how historic and how important it was. But these are 3 future main roster, main event level wrestlers that we just saw in the main event of Stand and Deliver on WrestleMania weekend. And it was a phenomenal match that will likely stand as one of the best across 21 matches from Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania. And they deserve a lot of credit for that. Let's talk about the North American Championship ladder match. The title, of course, vacated. Kalani Jordan, Zarya, Sol Ruka, Izzy Dame, Lola Vice, and Thea Hale all involved. Zarya and Sol entered together to the former's music. I didn't love that. Like, Sol really should have come out on her own, especially because of what happened in this match. There was a brutal spot early as Izzy ran Zarya into the steel steps with a ladder. Lola either took a huge helicopter ladder shot to the head or she sold it like a G. Lonnie did a leg drop inverted DDT and one of a kind, both onto ladders. Vice slammed her backhand into the ladder only to get booted by Dame, who then screamed at her, "Suck it, punta," which popped me huge. Izzy then took Sol off a ladder with a massive, massive Liger bomb. Thea went on a hot run with world's lightest slam and a fisherman suplex into the ladders. Dame dragged the ladder with Hale on it away from the title, only to take a Kimura lock on top. The calling came down really just so Thea could get flipped off the ladder by Zarya into them, just so it was nice and safe, and I actually kind of like that they did that. The ladies creatively got a horizontal ladder between another one and the middle rope. Lola choked Zarya atop the tall one, just to the point that Zarya actually had to grab her and tell her to stop. It was very similar to the Jade Cargill situation from, I think, Clash at the Castle. I'm forgetting which PLE specifically it was. But Lola was choking her for real, and Zarya's like, yo, I'm tapping out because I'm going to pass out right now. It's too tight. And Lola's got to figure that out. They lightly fell backwards onto that ladder, the horizontal one. Jordan hit a frog splash onto the ladder. She didn't get high enough, which was really surprising, given her athleticism. Maybe it could have been a little bit closer to the ropes. Sol springboarded onto the ladder to battle Lonnie. Zarya pulled Lonnie down, tossed her into the men again outside. The teammates then climbed simultaneously. They nodded, and they battled each other. At one point, and I promise you this is not like a fiction writing Silver King right here, but at one point it looked like Zarya was considering kissing Sol.
That's the most action I've had all year.
I was up all night.
But she didn't, and then they just fought. Ruka, her body laying down the ladder, flipped up backwards to mule kick Zarya off the other side. Then she backflipped over the top of the ladder, nearly grabbed the title. Izzy tried to pull her down, so she kicked her off, and then hit Soul Snatcher flying off the ladder. Immediately, she sees 2 women getting in. She runs into the corner, hits a double Soul Snatcher to Thea and Lola, I believe it was, before climbing up the ladder, grabbing the title, and getting a massive pop as the new Women's North American Champion. This was simply one of the most exciting and inventive ladder match finishes in ages. The second Soul Snatcher could have used another second or two of setup, but holy shit, man. It was awesome, and the one off the ladder was straight up excellent. Doing those immediately after the mule kick flip over spot, it was immense. Soul showcased so much in that stretch, and most of the ladies in this match showed out in major ways. She was absolutely the right winner. We discussed on the Ultimate Preview, it needed to be her or Thea. I think I may have predicted Thea. Big mistake. Definitely should have predicted Soul. Tag team or not, I didn't think about what will happen now that they're tag team partners and one of them holds the title. We'll talk about that in a moment. So Silver King messed up his prediction here, but I did have the final 2 right, in terms of Soul being one of them. But most of the ladies, even besides Soul, they showed out in major ways. Ruka is not only going to get elevated by the title, she's going to elevate the title simultaneously herself. As I said, Mo showed out. Lola just proved what I said to be true. She didn't belong in this match. Conversely, this was easily the best work of Izzy's career. Lonnie left a little something to be desired just because we know she can do better. She didn't flash the way you would expect in a match like this, and she came well short on a couple moves, but she had a lot of great spots that were planned for her. If she just executed them a little bit better, I think I wouldn't be as sour about it. Thea brought great energy. She played her role perfectly. Zarya was the MVP, which is hardly a surprise. But Soul winning here, again, excellent decision. She's the truth. The sky is the limit for her. Main eventer on the main roster in a few years. No doubt about it. An all-time female babyface for WWE, if they do it right. As for a grade, I'm at 4 stars A-. I don't think it was clean enough to be higher. Could have used a couple more false grabs, but it was far beyond a B-level match, just given the smart transitions, the overall work, the spots, the crowd reaction. Perfect opportunity for Zarya to go heel down the line out of jealousy and ultimately win the title. Hopefully not for a while, but now that they're partners, and Soul actually has not one but 2 championships. She's the speed champion as well, the women's speed champion. But now that she holds the North American title, Zarya's first okay with it. They go through a bunch of stuff. Soul retains a couple times. Maybe Zarya even helps her once or twice. And then she looks at the whole situation and she's like, why not me, right? And that's the perfect booking because Zarya, it just feels like she's going to be a better heel than she is a face. But the team that they're doing with her and Soul right now, it does work. And Zaruka has been a lot of fun. So let's move to the North American Championship for the men. Ricky Saints defending against Ethan Page. This opened the main card. Page hit a strong apron power slam, then avoided a springboard crossbody outside, with Saints slamming into the announce table with a huge thud. Some big bumps from him before selling a back, leading to a Boston Crab. There was also a really unique German suplex literally into the top rope with a flip over and out. Saints' mouth got busted open. He had a step-off tornado DDT, spinebuster, Michinoku driver, and a counter Destino. There was a loud Tony fumbled chant, which I just don't like at all, particularly in the middle of a match on a PLE. There was a last ride-style powerbomb from Saints. Page followed with Ego's Edge for a false finish. Saints then escaped. Twisted Grin, landed a running spear that was more like a shoulder tackle, and then hit Rochambeau to retain the title. The finish here was way too sudden, just given the match had really taken its time beat by beat throughout. I'm not a fan of false finish, counter finisher win. I would like a little bit more drama built up, but the match was awesome. It was exactly what NXT needed as an opener, exactly what we needed as viewers to firmly establish Saints as a champion while keeping Page strong. This was borderline like B plus A minus, and I'll decide on rewatch, but right now I'm at 3.75 stars and a B plus. A few extra minutes, an elongated, stretched out finish. It probably gets there, but nice work by all involved. Page continues to prove he is far, far better than he had been billed for years. Saints' arrow is majorly pointing up in WWE. He sold his ass off all match. I hope Page remains in NXT despite the loss. They need him far more than the main roster does, where I could easily see him getting lost in the shuffle. I know he could play like a mid-card, low-card heel and it would work. I get all that. For me, that's not necessary. Keep him in NXT. He can go a lot further there. Let's move to the tag team championship. Axiom defending against Hank and Tank. Hank almost did like a hookup spot, which was kind of silly just given his stature. Crazy, clean, hot tag by Nathan Frazier with a standing shooting star press. Great spot where Hank escaped an octopus hold and used Axiom's body to helicopter a running Frazier. Tank had a huge hot tag with a nice slingshot splash and a fisherman's cradle spinebuster. Axiom interrupted Honk Honk with a golden ratio. There was some sloppiness due to a missed tag. Then they did an incredible assisted toss hurricanrana over the ropes, throwing Hank off the apron into Tank ringside. Frog splash 450 followed with a false finish. Hank landed a huge flying lariat plus an assisted pop-up splash for another false finish. Frazier got pounced off the apron into the announce table before Hank tried a tope suicida, only for himself to land flat on the announce table. Crazy timing, great landing. Axiom took advantage with a flying high-low for a false finish. Axiom landed an avalanche Spanish fly with Frazier hitting the Phoenix Splash. That was a broken fall. Great job by the referee delaying his count for 1 second because Hank would not have made it if he didn't do that. Tank avoided a Frazier Phoenix Splash. He got caught with a boss man slam. Tank then tope suicided Axiom to take him out, and they combined for Honk Honk plus the shoulder tackle power slam to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. Now, I discussed on the Ultimate Preview how it felt like the title might change here, but I completely disagreed with strapping these guys up, having them be the ones to end the Fraxium title reign when there were better options, frankly, on the brand. You have the immense achievements of Fraxium and better teams that they've beaten to this point. And then you have Hank and Tank winning this when really, if you're going to put them over, you have them beat a heel team, and that makes it even more impactful. Not having Fraxium get a win back over the Hardy Boys before dropping the titles, that was particularly frustrating for me. So for them to lose to what candidly is a mediocre comedy act, it's hardly the best move. That said, the storyline to get here at least made it understandable. They did a really good job getting fans behind Hank and Tank so that they would get cheered in a victory here. So I disagree with the booking. But my disagreement with the booking aside, there is no argument that this was an excellent match and a tremendous moment. Fraxium dragged an A match, 4.25 stars out of these guys, proving once again they are the best tag team in the world. It's to the point that Fraxium even got themselves booed at one point for kicking out or something, the way they were selling for Hank and Tank and putting them over. Dropping the titles was fine. I just wish it was like NQCC or something like that. All that said, Hank and Tank, they can probably now serve as a transitional champion, possibly for Dark State or something. And Fraxium, they should be on a one-way, nonstop ticket to the main roster. They should be debuting Monday night or Friday night, probably on Raw, because that division needs a shot of adrenaline right up its ass. And you can build them to eventually beat the New Day and be massively over. I also wanted to shout out the producers of this match. Extremely well done pacing, the sequences, the camera shots, the production in the truck. Just top tier on this. Now, the Fraxium reign, it lasted 230 days, but they held the titles 356 of the last 374. There was that 18-day reign for Chase U right in the middle that broke things up. 230 days is the longest NXT Tag Team title reign in 12 years since the Ascension, which hold the record. 365 would have been the longest of all time. 356, would have been the longest of all time if you combine them. But obviously 365 had they retained here, and just taken it for another, 125 days, would have gotten them to that point, 135 days. Regardless, they're the best tag team in NXT history. They remain the best tag team in the world right now. This was an all-time run for any strap in NXT, and I cannot wait to see these guys on the main roster. D'Angelo family fought Dark State. This preceded the co-main events. Tony D wore a jacket that said blood is thicker than water. Dark State had a chaotic camera cut entrance and surrounded him early, but the family quickly hit Shatter Machine before the bell. Luca Crucifino was thrown into the steel truss under the ring. Early match story was the guys not tagging Tony when he wanted, and eventually he stopped trying. Osiris Griffin tossed Stax fully over the Timekeeper's area. When Stax finally got free of an extended beating, Tony stopped Luca, extended his own hand for the hot tag. That included an incredible avalanche toss, belly-to-belly suplex of Saquon Sugars into Griffin. Dion Lennox hit a jackhammer, and Dark State hit their finisher for a broken fall. There was a spot earlier in the match I'm now forgetting to mention here, where Lennox was going buck wild ringside that even his own partners couldn't contain him. That's a great job to sell a character's state of mind and how unhinged they are. So they square off 3-3 in the ring. Cutler James got involved ringside. He was the fourth who wasn't wrestling, who wasn't legal. Adriano Rizzo took him out with a standing frog splash from the top rope. That was great. Stax brought in 2 crowbars. Tony threw his out of the ring, saying it's his call, they're not using them. Stax didn't release his. D'Angelo stopped the finisher with a huge spear of Sugars, then hip-tossed Stax out of the ring into the pile of men. When James grabbed the crowbar ringside, the referee got distracted. Stax tried to use the crowbar inside, stopped himself from hitting D'Angelo, drilled Sugars in the head. They hugged, and then Tony turned his back. But Stax handed the crowbar to his referee. Tony saw this over his shoulder and smiled. But in a total swerve, Stax then low blowed Tony with a kick and said he never should have trusted him. Dark State hit their toss powerbomb, and they got the win. This was entirely a storytelling match, and a well-done storytelling match. Probably would have hit a little bit better as a TV main event as opposed to being on a PLE, but it played well enough. I am not sure why I didn't consider on the Ultimate Preview that Stax could turn heel, but not join Dark State. That was clearly more sensible than him joining the random group. It also made the swerve at the end hit a lot better. The betrayal, it hit because it was not weapon aided, right? They gave us the twist. They came back. He turns anyway. Really great. He wasn't trying to help Dark State. He just wanted to hurt Tony. Dark State needed this win given they were the new group. And to their credit, they looked like they belonged most of the match. Osiris Griffin was probably the standout just because we hadn't seen much of him. And he showed out, I don't want to say more than the other guys, but to a degree that we had not seen yet. Whereas we've seen flashes from Deion Lennox and Saquon Sugars we saw in that match on TV. And also if you've watched anything from Lucky Ali, which is his independent name, you know what he can do. So Griffin was really the star from the standpoint that he was the biggest surprise. But the intensity was there throughout. Their power moves really hit. I told y'all not to worry about Dark State. A much better match than it's going to get credit for being, just because it was slower and there was storytelling. Probably lowest on the card, 3.25 stars and a B, but still super fun and, deserving of a major moment. I just probably would have put it on TV. So later, Stax refused to answer questions while running out to his car and driving away. Crucifino caught up with him, but Stax told him he would explain in due time. Keep your phone on, stay close. Nice little hook for NXT on Tuesday. And lastly was the countdown match. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade against the Metagirls, Fatal Influence, and then Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan in a women's tag team championship #1 contendership match that I did not realize until it started was an elimination match. That's my fault. I just didn't hear that last week. Unfortunately, they used the boring rules with only 2 women legal at a time, but because it was an elimination match, it made a little bit more sense. The Metagirls, just like Las Vegas Showgirls, Shotzi, entered with Tatum and Gigi. Great to see her back, period. And then back with them specifically. Metagirls did a shoulder toss Liger bomb, really cool spot. Tatum hit a great corkscrew off the apron ringside as part of 5 straight springboards and topes. Jakara Jackson did a Sasha Banks tribute from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn with her tope, the one where you go over the referee, a plancha. Perez hit an exceptional midair pop rocks counter on Lash for the first fall. Roxy then hit a double jump moonsault and tagged Cora in. Perez got booted out of the ring. And then all of a sudden she just starts shaking her head and she walks down the ramp for no immediately obvious rhyme or reason, just leaves Jade in the ring. Tatum and Gigi did a great double stack jackknife cover to eliminate Jade. Then a new submission called Freaky Positions, almost a prism trap with a head scissors. JC Jane hit a great Shining Wizard. Paxley broke the fall with a jump off drop kick, got a huge pop. Tatum murdered Fallon Henley ringside, and the faces combined for Cemetery Drive to get the win. Absolutely, positively the right winners. Got by far the best reactions during the match, and we all know how over Tatum continues to be with fans. Obviously, I was being facetious criticizing Shawn Michaels for not putting Paxley in the ladder match on our Ultimate Preview, and she should have been in that match. Let me be very clear. But winning here was a nice consolation prize. All 4 teams showed out here. Ultimately, I'm glad this was put on the show. If the main card had more space, which it did not due to the WrestleMania kickoff and the fact that they aired full-length WrestleMania packages in the breaks, between these matches, it easily could have been on the main card, but it didn't necessarily matter. They went right from this match to the start of Stand and Deliver, 3.5 stars and a B. The Roxy and Cora situation, it was a positive development in that I figured it would surely build to a leave the territory match that was necessary for Perez with her friend before she goes to the main roster. However, in the moment, it happened without any reason or explanation. It was a little bit odd, given how hard Roxy's character pushed for a match and what was on the line. Granted, she did not ever want a tag team match, but still, she pushed for the match. She was excited to be in it. And all of a sudden, she just walked out. But then you couple that with Roxy's challenge of Stephanie after the show. It made it even murkier. My presumption is that Jade is going to cost Perez in her title match. That leads to them fighting one-on-one. But really, that's not even necessary because Roxy walked out on her in this match already. But I guess the idea is Stephanie can get a win over Roxy, even if it's aided by help. And we're going to get Vaquer and Perez on TV for the first time when it probably won't otherwise happen for a while if Perez gets called up and Vaquer does not. Tatum and Gigi backstage, they were excited to have won, saying they earned it, given all their work with an NXT and TNA over the last couple of months. Paxley pointed out that she might have to go fight her sweet dove, Lyra Valkyria. But Dolan was basically like, yo, them's the breaks. If she's champion, she's champion. And that's true. This is wrestling. I'm glad they got a segment on the main show after winning on the countdown. It was actually an extremely solid promo by Gigi. She has plenty of character. They got to show her character more, her in ring more. These ladies got to be on TV. And I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe reinstituting the NXT women's tag team titles, but they got to be there regularly if they're going to be in a tag team. If not, call them up with Shotzi. Get them on the main roster and let them rock because fans love them. So that wraps up NXT Stand and Deliver. The end of your instant analysis, of course, always comes with a revisit of our pre-show expectation grades and our final grades for NXT Stand and Deliver. So when it comes to the pre-show, the Silver King was excited, but I didn't necessarily think the card was that strong, largely due to the 6-man tag team match and Hank and Tank being the challengers for Fraxium. I just didn't necessarily think that would deliver, stand and deliver, pun not intended there. I didn't think it would stand and deliver like other NXT PLEs have recently. Whether I was wrong or not remains to be seen. We'll talk about that momentarily. But I came in within 90 out of 100, A- pre-show expectation grade. As far as you guys go, our Getting Overheads who got an opportunity to vote on Twitter, you came in with 68% in the A range, 30% in the B plus to B range, 2% in the B- to C plus range, and 0% C or lower. That averages out to a 94.1 out of 100. So an A. You guys had the bottom A and Silver King had the bottom A-. And let's see what we all thought once the show went off the air. Our final grades for NXT Stand and Deliver 2025 WrestleMania weekend. All of you, our listeners, will go with you first. You voted 68.4% A plus to A, 25.3% A- to B plus, 5.1% B to B minus, and 1.3% C plus or lower. That averages out to a 95.2 out of 100 and an A. And I will tell you that all of you listeners are Getting Overheads were far more right about this show than the Silver King was coming in. This was an A show. It was indeed. They absolutely stood and delivered, no question about it. And I do need to rise up significantly from my A+. Now, thinking back on the show, what did I love and why would I put it at that level? The men's triple threat main event, fantastic. Just spectacular, honestly. The women's fatal four-way was, again, a meet and exceed expectations type of match. The tag team championship match completely exceeded my expectations, which I really should have thought about a little bit better, given how much I love Fraxium and how great they legitimately are. The women's North American Championship ladder match exceeded expectations. Dark State and the D'Angelo family was pretty much exactly what expected. Same thing mostly for Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. But man, when you have most of the matches on a card deliver better than you would expect, yeah, that's when you increase your grade substantially. And that's where I'm at. I'm going to fall in slightly below all of you, though. You're at a 95. I'm at a 94, a flat A, no question about it, but on the lower side. It's tough for me to go with a higher A grade when we're just kicking off WrestleMania weekend. We have night 1 and night 2. Night 1 coming up just a couple hours after I publish the show. Night 2, obviously, just 24 hours later. I guess it would be 28 hours later, something like that. So it's tough to go with a higher A grade than 94, but coming out of this weekend, when we do our second look, when Silver King rewatches Stand and Deliver, it's possible that I go to 95, or I can't imagine going to 96. So, it's possible I inch up a little bit, but regardless, the number grade, the numerical grade does not matter. The fact of the matter is that this show completely delivered, and this NXT white and gold era, it just continues to be a phenomenal product, both on television and on premium live events. The way the women's division performs is just absurd, really. And the men's division, not that long ago, 2-3 months ago, maybe, we were criticizing how weak it was, both in the main event and in the mid card. And they're starting to figure it out. You just add a couple more talents, figure out a couple more characters, and they're all the way fully back after bringing up Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes and other folks to the main roster. So let's get out of this show, mostly because Silver King needs to rest his voice, rest his eyes a little bit, eat something. WWE WrestleMania 41 is coming up. Let me remind you, we have the ultimate preview in our podcast feed if you have not already listened to it, and we will have instant analysis episodes just like this one coming as soon as night 1 and night 2 go off the air Saturday night and Sunday night. Make sure you subscribe to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. If you are a new listener, we would greatly appreciate you doing that. Follow us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops. You learn when episodes get published. News, analysis, highlights, all of that stuff. And you can vote in these pre- and post-show polls that I just mentioned. Not only that, you can send in questions and comments. We'll try to get them on our second look episodes, Tuesday for WWE and Wednesday for NXT. Please also remember,
It's all about the five.
so head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we'll read it live right here on the show. And please support us because...
I happen to love the number 5.
And I hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reaction to every major show, and exclusive news analysis, written posts every week. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. The first of 3 instant analyses are now officially in the book. Plenty more performance-enhancing audio coming from your ear holes this WWE WrestleMania 41 weekend. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.